See, what do we do today is we'll create a VPC. Okay, in that VPC we launch two instances. One instance is a Linux instance we launch, and the other one we launch uh, um, what do we say, an instance inside the instance, or yeah, a Windows instance. Okay, so we'll try to connect it to the internet, providing internet gateway to the one, and keeping a NAT instance. I'll tell you what is NAT instance and all. It's like, let's go create a hybrid environment with the public and private things. Okay, so let's go create our VPC first. So to create VPC, you should log into the management console and go into that VPC. Looks like guys are joining. Hi Prashant, hi Shilpa. So you followed my timings. So we entered into a VPC. So there we had to create a VPC, and after that we need to check how it's gonna work for us. Till it gets ready. Let's discuss NAT instance. What is NAT instance? See, have you heard anything about NAT? Anybody? Yeah? Or at least during my discussions, did any time I use NAT, the word NAT? Fine, not to worry. See, I always been telling you guys that whenever we create a hybrid cloud, which is nothing but um, an application which needs to be accessed by people in a public cloud, and the database which should not be accessed by people. When it comes to an example of bank, I always telling you that to be kept in a private cloud. Okay, and people will always access to the application, and whenever they wanted some data, that data again have to fetch from the database itself, and that data will be provided by database which is in public environment or public cloud, or in detail we have to discuss, if we have to discuss, that's in a private subnet. Okay, if we come to a clear picture, we create subnets here. We consider one subnet as a public and the other subnets as private. Okay, so one is as public and the other one is as private. Excuse me. So in that public subnet, how do we consider a subnet as a public? That's simple, by creating an internet gateway and attaching to it. That's all. So whichever the subnet attached an internet gateway to it, that will become a public subnet. And the subnet which do not have an internet gateway attached will become a private subnet. So what do we do in case if we take this banking sector as example? We'll have the application which needs to be accessed by people in the public subnet, and the database which needs to be very uh, restricted should be maintained in a private subnet, so that nobody able to access it. But when somebody is trying to access their own account and check their own balance or transfer their money to somebody else or do something else they wanted, they at least they find either they should also get the access to the database, because their data, their individual data is also stored in the database itself. So how do a particular person get his own data? That should come from database only, which is in private subnet. So how does that happen? That usually happens, okay, by authenticating the request. If the request from the public subnet application is valid, is trusted, then the private subnet database will give the information requested. But how these requests are validated or authenticated? That is possible by another instance created. That may be an EC2 instance created and kept it in a public subnet. Why do we have to do that? Is because, when excuse me, please guys excuse me for today. I mean, maybe till I become totally okay for these little disturbances. So what I'm telling, so yeah, an instance is created. We don't do that instance, but that instance does a lot for us. So what it does, there are two uses with that. One thing is it checks all the requests. Now for example, I am the one trying to access my bank account details. So I just go log into my bank account. The application is in the public subnet, so I'll be able to comfortably access, but I wanted to check my account details. So I requested for that. So how do I get the details? The instance which we have created, another one EC2 instance, and which is placed in the public subnet itself, will validate that request, whether it is a true or not, whether it is a trusted request or not, whether it is come from our own person or not. So that is what validated by that EC2 instance we have created. And the other second best use is when somebody is trying to hack by chance, okay, by chance they get the information of database, okay, they always try to trace the IP address because database is installed on an EC2 instance end of the day. So EC2 instance will have an IP address, and to connect to that they must need an IP address of that, isn't it? So if they get that IP address of our instance, then our database is accessed. So what this EC2 instance which we have created additionally and kept in the public subnet will does is, it always, okay, uh, shows the external world saying the database is created in that additional instance only, and the data, whichever the data it is providing to the people, is from that additional instance only. So people think that the data is coming from this additional instance only, but do we really have a database created in that additional instance? No, right? You getting my points, guys? Anybody? Hello? Yeah. Excuse me. So this additional instance which protect our database, which make people understand that the data is provided from this additional instance only, and the additional instance which validate all the requests, which acts as a barrier in between public and private subnet instances, which is nothing but application and database. That additional instance is known as NAT instance. NAT, nothing but NAT. So what do you mean by NAT? NAT stands for Network Address Translation. So network address translation is nothing but the database address is you know, uh, bypassed, and people it makes people understand that the database is data is coming from this NAT instance, but in real there is nothing in it. It is just a dummy instance used as a NAT instance. So that is the use of NAT instance, and we must need it in a hybrid environment. So always natting is done. People say natting is done, natting is done. Natting is nothing but they create another additional server or instance placed in the public subnet and makes it act in between a barrier as application and database or public subnet instance to private subnet instance. So that is the thing. So let's go and start. You see, there are two ways we can create our own VPC. The first thing is, let me tell you that excuse me, if you're going to create individually everything one after the other, so what you have to do is you first have to create a VPC. Okay, then after that you have to create a subnet. After that, okay, you'll find here, so you'll have to create your VPC, then you have to create your subnet. After once your subnet is created, you have to create internet gateway, and after that you also have to create route tables. Okay, then once all these four are created, you also have to do subnet association. So subnet association is nothing but you have to allocate the route tables or internet gateways to them so that they turn into private or public things. So again, after that you have to have to create natting, the separate instance, and that is to be considered as a natting thing. Okay, so for that, if you are individually doing that, creating your own EC2 instance or NAT instance from the EC2 section, you have to choose NAT AMI there, not separate as a regular AMI. So there you have to choose NAT AMI. You'll find AMIs there, free AMI for NATing. So that you have to choose. Somebody's talking. Yeah. Did somebody talk? Okay. So we have to do all these things if we go individually from one after the other. So what do? I'll directly go by this wizard. Rather I go create everything individually and then attach things, whether it's going to work or not. But it will definitely work if you do things properly. But what I'll do is I'll just go with the wizard and I'll explain to you everything. Not to worry. Yeah. Now, see ya. VPC with a single public subnet? No, we don't want that. We are going to check something, a kind of hybrid thing. So VPC with public and private subnet? Yes, we are going to do that. Yes. And we also have things separately. VPC with public and private subnet and hardware VPN access, a separate VPN security access. VPC with a private subnet only and hardware VPN access. So what we are going to do is we are going to check this. The moment I select the other one, the diagram here will change. You just check that. You see here, the diagram has changed. And whenever we take public and private concept, automatically natting comes into picture. So the natting is nothing but an additional EC2 instance created and kept it here. That's all. In the public subnet that I told. So this NAT instance will establish the communication between private subnet and public subnet instance, so that all the requests are validated and external people thinks that the information from the database is coming from this NAT instance but not this, so they do not find the database address directly, so that our database is safe. This is for the security. Okay, so let's go and select. Excuse me. Guys, I'm so sorry for the disturbances. Yeah, so let's go and start our VPC. Chandra, I think you were asking me so many doubts in VPC prior to that, right? So you can clarify all those things here now. Anything else you wanted, you can just ask me. So I'll clarify all those things. Okay. So now, first thing. So first thing is what I said in yesterday's class. I mean, maybe day before yesterday's. So the whenever we create our own VPCs, it's nothing but we'll have a certain IP address range, isn't it? So that certain IP address range defines our VPC. So that's what we have to provide here, CDIR block, CIDR block. So here in this CIDR block, we have to provide our IP address range, whichever the IP addresses you have blocked or arranged for your environment, have decided for your environment and all. So that you have to mention here, and the range /16. This is a little networking concept, /16 /8 /24 /32, the multiples of 8. So /16 is nothing but multiples of 8. So 8 comes to this 0, this particular 0, the first 0. 16 comes to these two digits. 32 comes to the 24 comes to these two digits. And 32 will capture all. So 16 we are taking here in CIDR block. So that is the main thing here we are providing. The VPC name we have to give, it's up to you what name you are giving. So it's just let's give as my first VPC, something like that I'm giving. So, and this is subnets. For subnets also we have to mention what and all, but the same IP range, the same address we have to provide here also. So 10.0.0.0, only the last /16 over there, and it is 24, and here also 24 for both public and private subnets. Guys, you able to hear me? Yeah. Hello. Okay, looks like you will be able to. Fine, so that's what I'm saying. Okay, nothing else. You did not miss anything because I stopped once I checked my network connections here. So it's all about networking concept. So if you have anything, any idea about CCNA or networking, you will clearly understand what is this, but just understand whatever I'm talking in terms of this. So that's much enough for now. But if you're really very much interested and then focus more in these networking areas, truly majorly based on VPCs and all, so you can just go and learn CCNA, and you can just mention that in a resume saying you know CCNA, and you can have as you have a strong knowledge on networking, and then you worked a lot with VPCs, creating VPC subnets and all. Of course, you do have jobs for that. But CCNA is another 1 month course, so you should have a true interest on that. Not to worry, we must need to know, I mean, we have to know what is VPC and how to create. That's enough in terms of AWS, so understand this way. So 16 is for main thing, main VPC, we have provided that 16 till these 2 points, and 24 when we go into our this one, which means you can use your IP addresses from 10 dot, so 250, usually it is 241, sorry, 254 IP addresses are provided by default when it is 24/24, but we have only 251 here, which is nothing but, remember guys, when we have only 251, and actually we should have 254 when /24 is mentioned here, the 3 IP addresses are blocked by Amazon for itself. Excuse me. Even here it is that it should be 34 but 31 only, and even here 54, 51 only. So every time 3 IP addresses will be blocked by Amazon for the future purpose and security purpose. If something goes nasty in your VPC and you're not able to connect, okay, we obviously raise the request with the support of Amazon people, and they should be able to connect it to our environment, right? So how do they get to connect? So for that, to able to connect it to our environment and check upon our request, then they needed their block their three IP addresses for them. So that you need to know, and check here my VPC and the public subnet we have provided with 251 IP addresses. You want, you can change. Availability zone, you wanted any preference, you can just go with. If not, no preferences. But what I'll do is I'll just go with public for 2A region, availability zone, I'm sorry, and that's the name of subnet name is public subnet only. Let it be so simple, as simple as that, not to have any confusion. But if you wanted, you can just give your names either, anything you wanted you can give over there. And the private subnet also has the same thing. Let it be, here it is. What I'll do is I'll just make this as 1, and here I'll make it as 2 to have a little clarification, because that's 0, this is 1, and this is 2. There's no change in that, but just for my understanding I've made this change, nothing else. And here I'll just take B as my preference. So the private subnet is created in the next availability zone. You can also do this in A, not an issue. But what's the point? You create same in same availability zone. By default they'll have a connection in between. So I test, and if one thing is going down, the entire environment goes down. One availability zone goes down, the entire environment goes down. So what I'll do, I'll take 2 multiple availability zones. At least if my application goes down, my database is safe. That is the idea behind thing. So private subnet, let the name is as simple as that provided. And here you see currently I'll show you by taking another one. Okay, let that load. So here, so you can add more subnets after AWS creates the VPC. Of course we can do that. Multiple subnets can be added, created and added. That's fine. So here we don't need to specially create root tables and attach. By default that will be created and attached to. So root tables will always be attached to private subnets, and internet gateways are attached to public subnets. Don't get confused. Yes, are you clear with? I'm going to repeat one another time. Internet gateways are always attached to public subnets, and root tables are attached to private subnets. Okay. So the next thing is so NAT gateway rates apply. Of course, let it be, not an issue. But what I'm going to do is the NATing can be done in all the possible ways, either by using an elastic IP allocation ID, or what I'll do is, see the right side, it is use NAT instance instead of that elastic IP. I wanted that. And T2 micro, the key pair, I have this, of course, so the key pair should be there. Of course, though we do not connect to that, you must need to have a key pair. So when we have given this, it automatically create an NAT instance by itself. See how simple is that. In EC2 section, we usually don't have any instances running healthy. But once that VPC is created, we'll have one instance automatically created by itself. That is nothing but NAT instance. So we'll check that later on. And you wanted any endpoints for S3 to your subnets, it's up to you, okay, which way you wanted to add. But and enable DNS host names, yes, it's by default selected, yes. So hardware tenancy, you wanted any hardware tenancy, let it be default. I don't wanted anything in specific. Okay, so I'm going to create VPC, that's all there. It's quite simple with VPC. I mean, a wizard, you don't need to take so much of pain. So once it is done, 100%, a VPC is created. Are you clear, guys? Are you clear with all the topics we have done? We have seen. Any confusion? I'm open to you to clarify your things till it gets ready.
Sir, can you
Sorry, your voice is breaking.
Sir, can you tell again about the publics at the 24/8?
Okay, I'll tell you. Anything?
Can you hear me right now, sir?
Yeah, I'll just tell you now only. Anything else?
Yes, sir.
See.
Yeah, I mean, you explain public. There's a.
See, every IP address will have 4 sections. Okay, it's like 172.191.256 dot something like that. Okay, so the 4 sections are 4 different blocks, we say. It's true, and it's truly a networking thing. I'm really known a very little, but whatever I know, I'll share with you guys. So the 4 blocks will have up to 256. It can go up to 256. So 256.256.256.256, something like that. So here, when we wanted to use a particular range of IP addresses, okay, that particular range of IP addresses are used by providing a certain range. So 10.0.0.0.0/24, which means the range how many IP addresses you wanted for your environment. So that's what we are specifically mentioning. With that /24, you mention how many IP addresses you wanted to allocate for your environment. So /24 says only 256. So the multiples of 8 8 64, and 64 8s are, let's multiply and check. Hmm.
512.
Hmm?
512.
512, but usually it is so 254 IP addresses we get. 8. So this is going crazy, but 254 IP addresses we get if it is mentioned /24. So whenever we mention, we can mention all the 3 possible ways, either /8, /16, /24. /16 will give certain IP address range that I'll show you. Let me just show you in a moment. Your VPC has successfully created. Let's go to our VPCs. How many VPCs will have here? It's mentioned by default 2. Right? Yeah. We have created only one, but what about the other? Yes.
Maybe this backup for that one.
No, yeah, Srikanth, you're correct. It is a default VPC. That's what I said, right? Every region will have a default VPC created by itself. So this is default VPC. What IP address range we have taken? We have taken 10.0.0.0/16. So that's what the IP address range we have taken. But this 172.30.31.0.0.0/16 is taken by default here, that you can find it here. Default VPC, first one is yes and the second one is no, so that you can identify here. Okay, so the other one we have named here as my first VPC. This is one, and the other one is, it's not named because it is created. So for now, what you remember is, whenever this /16 concept is mentioned, the set of IP addresses we wanted to have for our environment is mentioned by this /16 or 8. So when you mention /8, it captures only that, the first block, and when it is /16, it captures 2 blocks, and when it is /24, it captures all the 3 blocks. So that's what you remember for now. And 3 blocks in the sense 3 multiples here. This will have certain IP address number. It's like, once it is totally filled, like 10.0.0.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that, it goes to its maximum level. Then it comes from 0 to 1 here. Then it goes to 256 again, and it comes to 1 here. So like that, it increases another 1, like so. Then it becomes 2. So that's how the IP addresses are allocated to a particular environment. Okay, so when it is mentioned 24, it blocks 3 particular blocks here, sections. So we'll have 254 IP addresses by default, but usually those 254 IP addresses will be reduced to 251. As I said, the 3 IP addresses are blocked by, are assigned to Amazon's private use purpose. They do not use them actually, but they reserve them, rather I say blocking, they reserve them for themselves. If we raise any request with them to check our VPC if it is not functioning properly, or if we have an issue with that. Are you clear, Sai? For now you understand that. If you wanted even more clear information, then I'll just Google it and then get back to you maybe tomorrow. And Chandra, when it comes to you, internet gateway is always attached to public subnet instance only. Because which one needs to access internet, public subnet instance or private subnet instance? Always internet is connected to public subnet instance only. So internet gateway is by default attached to public subnet instance only. So internet gateway makes you allow to connect to the internet, that's nothing but the external world, bypassing your firewall or bypassing your this one, your VPC limits. So that is why the internet gateway is needed. Now we have seen this one, the VPC. Let us see subnets created. Okay, see, there are 3 subnets because the 3 availability zones by default created. Those are all of all belongs to that. So here they have taken /20, which means so many IP addresses, 94, but 33 from each blocked by reserved by Amazon. Here you see, what is this 250 and 251? It should also have 251 here, because Amazon will take only 3 IP addresses, but their 4 IP addresses are blocked, are reserved. Can somebody tell me why this? Yeah, what is the purpose for this?
NAT.
Yes, very good. That's a good sense. Already one is created. What is that one? That is NAT instance which we have created. Let's go and check here. Instances. That instance is that there will be one instance running. That's nothing but NAT instance, and that NAT instance will capture one IP address out of those 251, so it becomes only 250. And here you see the subnet name is provided ID by default, public subnet and private subnet, which we can easily understand. One is in 2A, one is in 2B, and here you see everything is created in different availability zones, one in each availability zone. Okay, and if you wanted to check that, now we are taking a subnet of default VPC. The default VPC details, let us go and check. Summary, you see here, subnet name, CIDR blocks, 16, 0, 20, that's what they have taken, 20, which means so many IP addresses, whatever it is mentioned over there. VPC is that, the default VPC, available IPs are so many. Availability zone is that in which it is created. Root table, the root table attached to it is that, and any access control list, a separate layer of security, that's fine. And default subnet, yes, it's a default subnet. Autos and public IP addresses, yes, we can have public IP addresses assigned to it automatically when we create something in that. Let's go check root table. Okay, you see the root table is that, and inside the root table it is mentioned. Inside the root table, if you find IGW, it stands for Internet Gateway. So as I said, you remember everything in a default VPC, every subnet is by defaultly attached with an internet gateway created to that. So this internet gateway which is attached to a subnet will make you contact or communicate with the external world. But in a private subnet, we will not find any internet gateway here. Here we find something else. Let's see practically. What do we find? So the root table will mention whether we can contact internet or not. And network ACLs. So this is what the rule. It is by default 100 for every time. And if you wanted to create something more, so by default it should take, the default number should be provided every time, and that should be minimum from 100. So 100 is by default blocked here. If you are going to create another one, then you have to take 101, 102, something like that. So you can do that edit. Okay, and you can go create another one. So that's the point. And flow logs are automatically generated, and then get it here. Tags, you wanted additionally tagged. So now let's go and do our business. So public subnet, let's go and check summary. The public subnet is that, and it is /24, number of IP addresses. Let's go down and check 250 currently available, and this is the VPC state. It is available. Auto assign public IP, no, because we have not selected anywhere. So by default it is no, because it is created in a private subnet, private VPC, a custom VPC it is created. Since that the auto IP as and public IP addresses will be no. Default subnet, no, it is created by us while we have created our EC2, private VPC. Excuse me. So see here, this is the instance by default created, and that's an NAT instance. Okay. Just check if you can find AMI used for this anywhere. Yeah, AMI ID is that. VPC NAT. You find that? Amazon AMI VPC NAT HVM. So here itself it is mentioned it's a NAT instance. So for a NAT instance we must have to take an AMI of NAT only. So let it be, let's just name this as NAT so that we not have any
In so NAT instances are free tier or no, sir?
prettier because it is of T2 micro only, right? All the T2 micros are free for us.
Okay.
Clear?
But then we can't see there is T2 micron.
Where
I mean, in the MI.
AMI is fine. AMI is, we don't worry about AMI. We only worry whether it is an NAT instance AMI or not. That's all. AMI
Yeah,
is
yeah, I
protected.
can't see that. Yeah, okay.
Your instance ID, your instance type is different, right? First you choose your AMI, then you choose your instance type, whether it is T2 micro or something else. AMI, what AMI provides you? The OS and all the other softwares you wanted, that it will provide you. That's all. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Elastic IP address. Do we have any elastic IP address created to it? Yeah, by default it's created. Because, why is this? Because we have created this instance in a private one, and every time it should have, you stop, start, anything you do, this should have a permanent IP address so that an elastic IP is created and attached to that. And remember, when an elastic IP created and associated to a particular thing, you're fine, you're free. But if it is not associated to anything, you're charged. So when you delete everything in the end, also go and delete your elastic IP. And excuse me. So what else? Next is 250. Then let's go to root tables. The root table, the public hash. That's what public we have selected, and it has internet gateway attached to that. Okay. The second, let's go to private subnet and find out what is attached to it. Can you guess what would be attached to this? Can anybody? Yeah. Okay, let me reveal it. So there is an instance. I stands for instance. You remember? An instance attached to it. And what is this instance? I0EBAE778, something like that. EBAE778 something. So to the to the private subnet, a NAT instance is attached to it. Okay. So here we attach NAT instance. So this is the point. Now the thing is, let's go have a test with our VPC. How do we check a VPC? Okay, this is possible by creating two instances, one in each subnet. So let's go do that. But this time I'm going to, launch our Windows machines. So Windows machines would be Microsoft Windows Server 2012 R2 base. So this is what I'm selecting, and it's free tier eligible. Yes, fine, fantastic. Fine, T2 micro. Here I'll say my first VPC, and in public I'll take, so that's public subnet. Yeah. And what else? Rest all, let it be as simple. Next. Okay, the storage also fine, let it be my web server, and because web application is created in that, and I'll go with do we have any VPC? Okay, default we have all traffic. Okay, fine, I'll go create another one. VPC, the same thing I'll name and copy here or here as well. And what and all the rules we need. DP is selected by default. And SSH doesn't need because it's a Windows machine. Then what else? Of course, we don't go anything with HTTP, but let's take that as well. So review and launch. Yes, I do have that. So we have created a Windows instance in public subnet. We'll also go and create another one in private subnet. View instance. Yep. Till it gets ready, I'll go. Excuse me. The question may come to you saying, if I wanted to connect to the internet from my private subnet, okay, try to understand this. If the question comes to you saying, if I wanted to connect to the internet from my private subnet and I'm unable to connect to it, so what do I have to do to connect? One way, only from my private to internet, but not from internet to my private. So what is the answer for that? The answer is something different, I'll tell you. NATing is fine, of course, that's true. Of course, NATing is also there. Okay, this I did not tell you, but I'm still asking you the question. Makes you active so that you will be able to remember this answer forever. NATing is also available. I have taken NAT instance I've created, but still I'm unable to connect. Okay, why I'm not able to connect? What I have to do to connect to the internet? Though NATing is done, NAT instance is created. Okay. In a NAT instance, the NAT instance always check like how it validate all the requests coming from public to private. The similar way, it also validate all the requests going out from private. What way it validate? It will check. It will have a source destination point. In that source destination point, it will check whether it is valid or whether it is allowed by this or not. If it do not find the destination in its list of sources, it will automatically say you don't have this in my source list, so you are not able to connect to that. You just better keep quiet. That's what it says. So what I have to do? Select that NAT instance, go to actions. In that actions, instance actions, not in that. Networking, okay, so actions and the networking. In that, you have to come to change source destination check. Okay, and it should always be disabled. Usually it is enabled if you purposefully or manually create your EC2 instance. And if it is enabled, okay, if it is in the enabled state, what happens? The NAT instance will always check whether you are connecting to a proper site, which is there in my list of sites you can attach, you can connect it to or not. By default, nothing is mentioned in that source list. So everything it denies. It denies everything by default. So that we have to disable this. Okay. And once it is disabled, that checking part is disabled so that it will not check anything. You can directly go and connect it to the internet. And this is one way. NATing is always allow one-way directional. So from your private subnet, you will be able to access internet through via this NATing, but internet cannot communicate your private subnet instances or databases or whatever you create in that, because this is one way. You wanted to enable? Yeah? No, because I just wanted to check whether I can able to connect to the internet or not. So remember, if somebody asks you a question saying that I have created a VPC with a NAT instance in that, but still I'm unable to connect to the internet. So what answer you must have to give? Yes? What's the answer for that?
We should disable the status of the.
We should disable?
To disable and
What is to be disabled? Yeah?
network monitor and desk.
I'm sorry, Sai, but it's a disturbance from your end or my end. Your voice is breaking. Somebody can text me, not an issue. What is to be disabled? Network change? No, not network change. Enable? What is that dist? Hmm? Answer to people saying we have to disable source and destination. Yes, that's true. So we have to disable source destination check. Okay, so that is the answer. So somebody asks you, I'm repeating it again because this is important. If somebody asks you that I have created a VPC and also NAT instance is created and placed it in public, but I'm still not able to connect it to the internet from my private subnet. So what would be the reason? The reason is we have to check the source destination check is enabled or disabled. So if it is enabled, you must have to disable it, then only we'll be able to communicate with the internet. Okay, so that's how do we do that? Go to NAT instance and actions, selecting that, go to actions, networking, in that networking, change source destination check, in that it should always be disabled. So fine, we have our two instances running at the moment. Let's go launch one after the other. So my web server is the public. So I'm just going and taking its, these are what is Windows machine. So what we have to do? Can we directly RDP it?
authenticate.
No, we should not authenticate. We should actually generate its password. So how do we generate its password? Go to actions, get Windows password. Excuse me. And choose file. Key page should be attached here. Where in downloads? PM or PPK? What have to take?
PEM.
Yeah, for Windows machines. From my local OS is Windows, and I'm trying to connect it to Windows machine, so PM works out. and it should always have begin RSA private key concept here. Find decrypt. So this is the IP address we have to connect to. I'm copying it. How do we RDP? MSGSC control V connect. Meanwhile, I'll copy this. It's getting connected. Oh, what is this? Cannot be connected. It's 2 by 2 status, etc. Oh, I'm so sorry guys. That we should enable our public IP address there. That's fine, I'll show you again by terminating this. Now the option is, since I did not enable public IP address, you can just go attach an elastic IP to that, but I don't want it to do that. I'll just show you again. I had to enable this is an additional work again. So by default in a default VPC it is defaultly enabled, but in a private VPC it is defaultly disabled, so we ourselves have to enable it. So one is terminating and another one is pending. Let it get ready. So now let's go check our private. See, for our private also, we have not enabled public IP. But what your today's task is, however, you're going to create entire VPC and check whatever we are going to check now. But I wanted you to check additionally that, or you can also now answer me directly. If I enable a public IP address to my private subnet instance, can we able to directly launch it like how we are able to are trying to launch our public subnet instance? Are you clear with my question or you want me to elaborate it? Yep. Anybody?
Elaborate, sir.
See, okay, let us test. Let us complete this so that you'll get a clarity. What I'll do, I'll just go create a password for this first. Windows password. Oh, it's still trying. Okay, for this I'll so meanwhile what do we do till it gets ready? We'll just see few things. Remember these numbers, but it is not compulsory to be in your mind, just for an idea. So in a VPC, the restrictions are like every region can have the maximum of 5 elastic IP addresses. Okay, I'm talking in general in a VPC, whether it is default or custom anything. So per region, you can have only 5 elastic IP addresses, not more than that. If you wanted, you can just go and contact the support team of Amazon. They will help you out with that, increasing in numbers, anything it is, not only IP address. And default maximum limit of internet gateways is also 5. Okay, 5 elastic IPs per region and 5 internet gateways per region. One internet gateway per one subnet or uh, the IP address you have. And VPCs, you can have only 5 per region, and of course this can also be increased upon request. And VPN connections per region could be 50, the maximum limit, and customer gateway per regions is 50 again. Then you can create number of root tables per region are 200 and 100 security groups per VPC. So in each VPC you can have 100 security groups created, not more than that. And again you wanted, you can just raise a request. Then rules per security groups. Each security group can have 50 rules attached to it. So that can be anything, whether RDP, SSH and all, whatever we are attaching to that. So 50 such rules can be attached to a particular security group, and we can have 100 security groups for that. So these are all the few numbers I just wanted you to remember, and of course our server is ready. Let's go create and test our things. Okay. Our Windows machine will be ready. Yes. We'll conclude our class once we are done with this. Tomorrow we are going to complete. Um, Tomorrow it's Saturday, right? Okay, yeah. So SWS, SQS, and SNS topic. These three things we can cover up tomorrow, and the only thing we are left with is IAM. IAM probably take 2 classes, but if you can stretch, I can complete that in a 1 class if you are not overburdened. And if you really find free from you, and you're okay, we'll see it on Sunday. And actually for you it is Saturday, I guess. Yes, you're listening to me, guys?
Yes,
Because
sir.
my other students IAM is already done. If they wanted, they can attend. That's not an issue. And this is for all. Tomorrow, however, we're going to meet and complete that SNS, SQS, SWF. IAM will sit on Sunday and have a little long session to complete all IAM so that we can conclude. So Sunday in India will be maybe Saturday for you guys. So you can rest on Sunday.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Like if you have some time, why don't you explain one complete project to us?
Okay, I'll just tell you. I'll just tell you that. I have a project in my mind. I just wanted to tell you. I'll tell you once we are done with the course, and in the end I'll tell you to do that. Okay?
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
wanted
Thank
you
you,
to
sir.
create a complete environment for me. I'll tell you how and what way you have to create, and you just have to create and then tell me with the screenshots. That would be the final screenshots you're going to send me. And so far I'm impressed with Srikant's screenshots because it's just preparing everything in terms of a document, like, so every time you, I mean, in the future it will be used by you guys, like he's just writing everything in terms of, okay, what purpose it is used. Let me just go. And so I wanted you to create something like that so that it will be useful for you. So is that, yeah, Srikant. So see, you're creating table in DynamoDB. So everything like this with the screenshot, so that for the future purpose, if you wanted to do something, you can just still have a reference, a document. Rather you go with the video and then check everything, stop having a pauses in between and then check everything. You'll have a document with the screenshots attached in. So it will be really useful for you guys. And he has also mentioned the description that what he's trying to do, what steps he needs to take. So for everything. So about the project also, you try to do that. If not, I'll share the Srikant's um, screens with you guys so that you can have that as a reference, but don't depend on him. If you find time, he'll just do that. If not, I don't know. Okay, we are now should fine. Our server is getting ready. It's ready now. Let's try to connect it to the internet. What is this actually? Public subnet, right? So public subnet instance, we should by default be able to connect to the internet, isn't it? So let's try. So, okay. This is possible for everybody actually. And the next thing is little challenging. Let's see how it's going to work. Fine, you see we are able to connect to the internet Google Australia because we have created this entire setup in Sydney region. So now we are in Australia. You see, of course we are in Australia. So nice. Now what next? We have to go launch our private subnet instance. That's our DB server. So excuse me, I'm going to create the password for this as well. PM, that should work. Yes. So this is the number. Now tell me, will I be able to connect to this instance now? Yeah.
If there is a if the status is disabled, we can do that.
What status is disabled? Store source destination check.
Yeah.
What for source destination check should be disabled?
To connect the private instance to the internet.
Internet I'm talking, right? I said internet. From private subnet, if you wanted to connect to the internet, source destination check should be disabled. But what I'm trying to do now, I'm going to connect to the server actually. I'm going to connect to the instance. Like how I've connected to this instance, this instance. How I launched this, I'm trying to launch my private subnet instance. So am I able to launch? Will I be able to launch it? Rajita said no. Yes, it's true. Why no? Can somebody tell me? I'll drop it here. No public IP. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. So now my question comes into picture here. Okay, Sai, you remember you wanted me to elaborate it. I'm not able to, I should not able to launch this instance created in a private subnet. The first thing is, of course, we have not enabled its public IP address. That's true, yes. But my question is, if you enable public IP address to that, will you be able to launch it? That's my question. Will you be able to launch it? So that I wanted you to check enabling a public IP address to a separate instance. You create a separate instance. Okay. A separate instance you create with a public IP address enabled to that, and try to launch that instance and check whether you can launch it or not. Okay. That's your additional task for today, and you should come up with the answer whether you can connect to that or not. If you are not able to connect to that, think what would be the reason. If you find, that's well and good. If you don't, we will discuss that. You clear with that, Sai and all?
Yes, sir.
Yes, and I don't think now it needs to be elaborated more than this. Fine. So as I said, and as you already know that we should not able to connect to this. And the reason, can somebody tell me why we are not able to, apart from that public IP address? Let me tell you, because it is created in a private subnet. Okay. What is the IP address it is having? 10.0.2.196. And what is the IP address of my local machine? It is something different. It's somewhere 190 or something like that. So obviously it will not allow you to launch it, because it is not considering that to be in a same network. The networks will be different. Since the networks will be different, it will not allow you to connect to. Okay, now what I have to do, since I'm not able to connect here, I'm so smart that I'll go here to my private public subnet instance. Okay, and from here I launch that, because what will be the IP address of this? You see at 10.0.1.12. So since it is having similar IP address private with this, these two are considered to be in same network. So you should be able to launch this instance from here. Let me generate the password again. Copy it. Let me tell you one simple and nasty thing. That's so silly, sounds so silly, but let me share. Recently, when I interviewed a person, how do you connect, a silly question, how do you connect it to or launch a Windows machine, a remote Windows machine? The person was trying to tell me that, okay, go to run mode and type msrtc. I paused for a while and then started thinking, what is msrtc? Can you guess what it could be? What he was trying to tell me? Yeah,
To get this one,
he was about to tell me mstsc.
this window.
MSTSC he was about to tell me, but he said MSRTC. Yes, MSTSC he was supposed to tell me, but in a confusion he told me MSRTC. RTC buses, yeah. That's so simple. And my other person, the interview panel people, they started laughing. So administrator will be the default name for every Windows machine you are trying to launch. The password will be a different thing that we have to copy. And be careful, sometimes it will not copy entire thing if they have a special character in between, so you should make sure everything is copied properly. So fine, we are, yes, here we are able to launch it now. Now we launched a server, and inside that server we have launched another server. How nice it is, right? So it's really good. Server inside a server. And now the challenge is we should be able to connect to the internet now, because everything is set properly. Even source destination check is also disabled. So let's check. If you are able to connect to the internet from this private subnet, this one, then fine, fantastic. We are succeeded with our VPC. And the other task I have given to you guys is go create another EC2 instance in a private subnet with an public IP is enabled to that, and try to launch it directly and check whether you can launch it or not. Okay. Excuse me. Come on. $249 and $250. Yeah. Yes, our instance is ready. Our server, DB server is ready. You see here its details mentioned: private IP address, the region, type of instance, All that stuff is mentioned. Architecture, host name and all. If you also go with that, even the same thing is mentioned for this as well. The public IP, private IP, availability zone, and all and all. What is this? So what are we trying to do? Yeah, we need to launch internet. And one personal question, guys, are you all Telugites? Especially you, Anu, Rajita and Sai.
Sorry, sir.
I'm asking a personal question. You all are Telugites or some other mother tongue guys?
Yeah, Telugu, sir. Yeah, Telugu.
Good to know that. Okay, google.com.
Sir, can we be in touch with you after the classes also?
Do you have my number?
The WhatsApp number.
Yeah. That will be there forever. And you can always be. Not an issue.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
No problem. Thanks. What's happening to this?
Can I ask you one more thing?
Yes, yes.
What is multi-vendor environment?
Multi-vendor. What about an environment?
Yeah, multi-vendor environment.
Simple thing, guys. Multi-vendor is nothing but, see, you wanted a service. Okay. That service is provided by so many people. Like, I want some service to be utilized, and try to opt from somebody else. So you are providing that service, even Srikanth is providing that service, even Anu is also providing that service. Okay, so all of you guys, even Rajita is also providing that service, but unfortunately Srikanth is charging more. So what I've done, I initially contacted you, Sai. I said okay, fine, but finally in the end, you know what happens, my requirement has increased more and you are not able to reach that requirement. Serve me with all that. So keeping you in touch and also utilizing your services, what I've done, I have contacted Rajita. So I have two different vendors now for the same service, and I'm just getting that service from two different people. And initially, if I find a crisis again, then I'll go contact Anu again. Then later, if I still find some less crisis, then I go meet Srikanth and say I'll explain the situation. This is how I'm getting for these charges and all from the other three guys. So why don't you come down? Then Srikanth also may get convinced and then come down and then provide me the service for that particular rates only. So I'll have the same service utilized from four different vendors. Vendors are nothing but service providers. That's all. Multi-vendors are more than two or more than two. That comes to multi-vendors. That's all. A service when you wanted to utilize.
And what is imperial? Uh, what is this? It's an instance called a ephemeral instance.
Ephemeral instance.
Yeah, ephemeral instance.
Excuse me. Ephemeral means temporary. Remember, temporary. The dictionary meaning of that. Ephemeral instance is nothing but the instance backed AMI when you select to create an instance, then that is ephemeral, which is nothing but if you launch an instance with only instance storage without taking any additional EBS and store all your data in the instance itself. Example, there are so many different type of instances we have which also has 100 gigabytes of space in it, isn't it? So when the instance itself having 100 gigabytes of space and you don't require more than that, then what do? You just start utilizing that instance stored capacity itself. But what happens is, once you terminate your instance or stop and start again, your entire data will be vanished. It's because the instance capacity is always ephemeral, which is nothing but temporary. The moment you stop and start or reboot, we permanently lose it, but stop and start, okay, it changes its hardware, so automatically whatever the data you store in it will be lost. That is what ephemeral means. And to have a data, if you really think your data is really crucial and you wanted to have it, better you create an EBS volume and attach to that and then store everything in that EBS volume, because even if you terminate your instance for permanent thing, your EBS volume will be residing in your account and you can still get your data. Yeah, this is a question. This is a possible question can be asked in the interviews or in the question examination, that I just wanted to have my data even after my instance termination or instance stop and start. Or somebody may also ask you in another way saying, I just lost my data once after I stop and start, but what way I can just get it back, or what way I can have this data? Or they can also directly ask you a question. I have launched an instance and with only instance storage, kept all the data into that. Will it be there with me even after I stop and start it? Then you must have to answer saying no, it will not be there. Okay, by default it will not be there. Excuse me. You must have to take an EBS volume and store all the data into that, then only you can have your data safe. Clear?
Yeah, sir. Can we get the data back or no? It
Oh,
lost forever.
once we lost permanently. That's all. We do not get it back. If it is that is what ephemeral means. We say ephemeral, it means that.
So what is Tomcat, sir?
Tomcat is what? It's a server. It's a web server like Apache. Apache, Tomcat, and all these are same servers, are web servers.
So for Apache, it's HTTP. For what Tomcat, what is it, sir?
That I'm not really very sure, guys. I think HTTP works even for that Tomcat. Just Google, you'll get it. If not, if you really want me to find out and let you know, you just tell me. I'll just do it.
Okay. What is Docker? Docker,
Docker,
DOCKER.
yeah, Docker is another service. We have that in our AWS. But actually Docker means it's a developer course. That's another separate course which takes a longer time, maybe 3 to 4 weeks time to learn and understand. But that comes into developers. So we did not focus on that.
Okay.
Here we find somewhere. Docker, yeah, EC2 container services, run and manage Docker containers. Okay, we'll write some code and put all of them in that Docker, something like that, and you manage all of them in this. So Docker is another separate course. That's basically for developers. If you have a Java background, you can just go with that. A programming language or scripting knowledge, you can just go with that.
What is border gateway protocol, sir?
Mm-hmm.
Broader gateway protocol.
Broader gateway protocol, if you wanted to access, internet with a large amount of internet, if you wanted to access within less time, broader gateway internet. Okay, did you get that, Sai?
Yeah.
Srikanth, I'm not getting with your question. Within AWS, can we need to learn a course? You wanted any preferences with AWS? It's not compulsory to have an idea of some other courses. But what my suggestion is, if you wanted to go as an admin, you better have an idea of Linux at least. If you know a bit of Linux and AWS, that will really work. Since you're going as an admin, because every instance we launch here will be on Linux mostly, and to manage those servers you need to have an idea of Linux and VI editor, something like that. That is enough, and rest all it's up to you. It's your personal interest. You learn something and you'll definitely, it is useful one or the other way.
Sir, what is LAMP, sir? LAMP?
LAMP is what? It is the combination of courses. LAMP, LAMP. LAMP, L stands for Linux, A stands for Apache, M stands for MySQL, P stands for Python. 4 different courses relatively together known as LAMP stack. So people who have knowledge of all these 4 are known as LAMP stacks. Okay?
Okay, so we need, sir, after this class, we need to learn more about Apache, or is it enough?
Apache is very simple here. That's a web server. Okay, it's like HTML, kind of HTML. So you know something, that's fine. Apache is not necessary, but if you have Linux environment idea, Linux idea, then that will really help you. Because OS knowledge is essential, if you ask me. Every server have a certain OS, so OS knowledge is pretty important than everything.
Okay.
Okay.
So, sir, what are network file systems?
Network file system, NFS. See, if you wanted to send, that's a Linux topic. When you wanted to send huge amount of files from one server to another server, okay, do you remember LAN connections? In our colleges, we usually have a system, and that multiple systems will be in a LAN, so that you can share data from one server to another, one system to another system, just like that.
Yeah,
So
yes,
that's
sir, yes, sir.
LAN connection. A network file system is also something similar to that. When you within an environment you wanted to share huge amount of files from one to another, then NFS is open. To NFS it is sent. Network file system. Network file is sharing. So in a network, when you wanted to share huge amount of files, DHCP, I heard DHCP. Hey, I'm familiar to this, but DHCP. Shrikant, I'll get back to you this about this in just I saw in a VPC DHCP. Where is that? DHCP options set. It's something related to domain names. DHCP is for domain names. Yes. Yeah. Here you see DHCP set ID, and the domain name option is this. This is the domain name. DHCP works for DHCP server is for domain names. Yes, yes, I got it. Yeah. Any other? We actually need to connect it to this internet. Mm-hmm. Come on.
Sir, what is OSPF? Open Shortest Path First.
Open?
Open Shortest Path First.
I'm not really aware of that. Sorry.
Okay. So,
Uh,
like, if you are if we are interested in learning DevOps tools like Chef and Puppet, what do you suggest? Like, how much tougher they are? As a beginners, can we do that or no?
as a beginners, yes, of course you can learn, but before that, if you wanted to learn Chef and Puppet, you must need to have a strong idea about Linux. So I would suggest you learn Linux first because that's all. Chef and Puppet, everything is done in a command line prompt. So everything about commands and execution of commands. You will understand that only when you have Linux background. So it will be easy, but if you only know when only you have a Linux idea. So it's not completely, it's compulsory that you should be a master of it, but you must need to know at least the basics of Linux, and you should have a little hands on that. Okay.
Sir, and I'm also seeing in a lot of resumes that someone who has AWS experience also has an OpenStack experience. What is OpenStack?
See, OpenStack is not compulsory that you need to know, and especially in US, it is not at all needed at the moment because what's OpenStack? OpenStack is what's AWS? AWS is a cloud service,
Cloud computing.
cloud computing, and it is specially public cloud, right? And OpenStack is a private cloud. Getting my point?
Yeah.
We discussed two different type of clouds are available. So public cloud and private cloud. So private cloud is OpenStack, and that is the owner for this. Like how AWS is the service of Amazon's, like OpenStack is of RHEL, Red Hat peoples. So the people who have created this Linux and all are a Red Hat Linux certification. If you might have heard about it. If you wanted to do a Linux certification, then that is Red Hat certification you have to do. So the same Red Hat people have created this public uh, private cloud, and that private cloud is OpenStack. And OpenStack is, again, you need to have Linux idea. With that Linux idea, you will be able to learn, and that is a private cloud. That is an advantage, and I don't think it is needed for you guys. If you wanted to learn OpenStack better, you go with Chef and Puppet. Learning Linux, that will help you to get an easy job. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Having multiple cloud knowledge, cloud services knowledge is okay. It's really fine, but not compulsory because the entire future will be. See, if you know one cloud infrastructure, it is easy for you to understand the other cloud infrastructure. The only thing is terminology would be different. People who knows, I mean, since you are not aware of this because you are layman's, you are beginners, whatever it is, uh, you may not have proper idea, but the rest of the guys can understand. People who know Linux can easily understand Solaris. Srikanth, will you agree with me? Yeah. So Solaris, Linux, and Ubuntu, all these are of the different flavors of Unix. If you understand the history, initially some college guys during their project work, they have just created this freeware, free source operating system Unix, and they introduced into the market. Till then, only Microsoft Windows was only the OS operating system, but later on, this Unix has come into the picture. Based on that Unix, Okay, the freeware which is open to everybody, prepared by that, college students during the project work. Everybody have created their own version of things. So Oracle, Sun Microsystem people, they have created that as Sun Solaris. Okay, different versions are also available in that. And then Red Hat people have created that as a Linux. HP people as HP Unix. IBM people as IBM AIX. So different people have created different flavors of Unix. So all these are different flavors of Unix. Once you know one thing, then the rest of the things will be easy for you, because the concept is same but the terminology will be different. That's all. Here we say S3 bucket, in OpenStack we say something different, but the concept is same. Here we say EC2, the name of that EC2 will be different in OpenStack, but the concept is same. But the thing is, launching these services in AWS is different from that, because this is a private, a public cloud, and that is private. This is all done in GUI way, graphic user interface way, everything by clicking left click or right click. But there, everything by executing commands, because that runs on Linux. Public and private will always works on command base. Not only that, OpenStack, we also have VM Cloud, that is VM people's vCloud. VMware, you might have heard about VMware. So VMware people have created some private cloud as vCloud. So like that, a number of cloud providers are available in the market. And public cloud, when it comes to Amazon people's AWS, Microsoft people's Azure, 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 and Google people's
Platform.
Google itself. Then IBM people have developed something like soft layer. So different people have created different public clouds. But Amazon is on top, so that people are mostly going with Amazon. That's why we are learning Amazon. So I don't suggest you go with learning OpenStack, but better learn Linux, and then if you are really interested, go with Chef and Puppet. That's really helpful. I don't know really, guys, why we are not able to connect today. It's troubling me. But this is the method, and here from this you should be able to connect to the internet. Am I losing the connections? I think my network is troubling me. Yeah, due to my network problem, it's troubling me. But you try. This is the way. Actually, everything is set. We also have the RDP and HTTP to connect to the internet. Enable it to that. So you are listening to me. Am I audible to you? Come on, yeah. Oh, why is it troubling me?